This is a wrap-up video where I will talk to you about the things that I read in the month of April. As always, a reminder, I have a second channel. It's full of vlogs, and in that I update you weekly about what I'm reading and how I feel about it. I also go more in depth about how I feel about books in that channel. But here's a series of little mini reviews for each of the books that I read this month. Starting with The House of Salt and Sorrows. I was going on vacation. We went to Tybee Island, Georgia. It was awesome. And I was gonna be near the water a lot, so I wanted a bunch of very watery vibes. House of Salt and Sorrow is a loose retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. So what it is it follows our lead character, who is one of 12 sisters, and there's a curse on their family where they're getting picked off one by one. They're dying one by one in unique and different ways. Some of the sisters believe in the curse, some of them don't, but our lead thinks that the most recent death that happened was actually not about the curse, but instead it was somebody who murdered her, and she's trying to sort that out. Also, their father just remarried, and they now have a new stepmother at the same time as all this is going on. It's a really environmental read. It's very, I don't know, it just captures the feeling of being on an island in your own isolated world, and also a little bit haunted. Maybe some of your sisters are coming back as ghosts and haunting you, and maybe there's a few really creepy scenes that actually made me look over my shoulder. There's family drama, there's spooky, creepy stuff going on, there's gods getting involved. I mean, it's a wild ride. I don't think that it's the most skillfully written book. I think that the prose is fine, but not amazing. I think that the romance is cheesy. But I think that the book was excellent. I loved being haunted by my dead sisters. I loved questioning who did it around every corner. I loved our main character, who is so selfless and thoughtful and good, but also stupid sometimes. And I loved I loved our lead. She was genuinely a good person, but not in a bland, annoying way. She was so unique, and I loved her. I would read another book with her as the lead, happily so. I would read another book. I would just reread this book. I feel like she captured the environment, she captured the atmosphere so well. I should say the author's name. Erin Craig captured the atmosphere of a haunted seaside story so well as making really interesting characters, a ridiculous yet super fun plot. It's a book that I would say go in hoping to have a good time and not hoping to like experience your next epic tale that's well crafted, but just I'm here to have a good time, because that is exactly what this book provides. I had a blast reading it and will likely read it again. Oh, and I need to pass this one on to my niece. Mermaid Saga was the next thing that I read, and it was also great. It's a 2-volume manga. So in this world, if you eat of the flesh of a mermaid, you will 1, become immortal, 2, die, or 3, become a soulless monster. This particular story follows 2 people, these guys right here. Wait, nope. Yep, these guys right here. It follows them, and they've both eaten of the mermaid flesh in very different ways, and they are both immortal. They want to become mortal again so that they can die organically, so that they can live out their old age and not, you know, have the woes of the immortal anymore. And as they are journeying, trying to find a mermaid who will help them regain their mortality, they experience town after town, people after people who have also encountered mermaids in one way or another and being affected by them. It's really more about how mermaids affect people and how our characters interact with it. And it's more, I mean, it's a collection of short stories, but it's more about a concept being fully explored than it is about a wholly constructed story. I don't think it had a satisfying ending, that's what I'm getting at. But I do think that I loved reading every bit except for the ending, so you know, I'm still happy. Next up, Stranger Tides. This is, I believe, the book that inspired the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and I think that that's quite apparent. This book definitely has less humor than the movies, but I think that you can see the inspiration quite clearly. So this follows a man named Shadanyek. I never learned how to say his name. And he was a puppeteer, and his dad died, and now he's out for revenge. But pirates, and then he becomes one of the pirates and becomes an essential pirate. We meet Blackbeard, there's some voodoo happening, maybe some transporting one person's soul to another person's body. It's a wild ride. It's so wild. The action is brilliantly written. The magic in this story is so tangible. It feels like it is an authentic, natural part of our real world, the way Tim Powers writes it. I'm so impressed. I'm definitely gonna pick up another one of his books specifically because of the way he writes the magic. I want to experience this in whatever other way he can come up with. But it was a fun ride. It was weird. There were some weird things in here, but it was fun. I had fun. This is actually, I read this, I think when I was in middle school. And so there's some nostalgia that comes along with it, but I don't know. I really enjoyed reading it again. I also read the second half of the York new arc in Hunter x Hunter, as well as all of the Greed Island arc in this month. There are videos for that already. I loved them both. Next, I finished The Bone Ships, which, here's the thing about The Bone Ships. It's the coolest concept, but I just don't think that this author is for me. So this is about two people primarily, Mies, Lucky Mies, who is the shipwife, who's the captain of the ship, and Joran, who is the dekeeper or deck keeper, who's like the second hand of the ship. And in this world, in this 100 Isles, which is a compilation of a bunch of different islands, they craft their ships out of ancient dragon bones, and the way they craft the ships is so cool. Anyway, Mies's ship is a ship of the dead, so people who are condemned to die go to serve on the ship until the hagwife takes them, until they die. And they all take part in this forever long war, this never-ending war, but a dragon, a real live dragon, has appeared in their world, and they're now on a race to capture the dragon, and whoever does gets to end the war and win the war. Sounds cool, right? The second half was really good. The second half I enjoyed. I was happy to read it, and I had a good time. I enjoyed myself reading it. The first half was so nothing. The first half was really mostly just world building, which I do think that the world building is the best part of this book, and brilliantly done. So interesting, but also not quite enough to make a book for me. And the second half of the book was enjoyable, but it wasn't enough to keep me going with the series. And this is now the second book that I've read by this author, and in both of these books, my takeaway is he's a really good author. He's a really good writer. He has really good concepts, and he writes them very well. I just never get that invested in what he's writing, even though I should, because it's an interesting concept. It's just, for whatever reason, I don't connect with the way he tells his stories, which is frustrating because I really, really like him as a writer. Like, I could say a lot of things that he does well, but for whatever reason, I just never quite get there with him. So I think that he's just not the author for me, and I think we have to split up, even though I have no hard feelings at all. But my dad read this entire trilogy and he thought it was all awesome, and he thinks that I'm dumb for not loving it. So take his word and not mine. That's all that I have for this part of the video, because as apparently is my new norm, I'm filming this video before the month is actually done, but I have a few other books that I will probably finish before the end of the month, so future Murphy. Finishing up the wrap up in the same place that I finished the vlog, because I just finished the vlog. Next book that I finished this month is The Secrets of the Runestones, which is kind of hard to describe because there's so much going on. We have a lot of different perspectives. The main perspective that I love is the dwarf who is trying to create the greatest sword. He and his father are craftsmen, they're swordsmiths, and he is attempting to use runestones and use a specific material to craft the world's most powerful sword with his friends. We also have a character who is imprisoned, and he has to participate in this fight ring in this tournament of fights, and he has to win so many fight to the deaths in order to earn his freedom. And then we have another perspective of a priestess who makes a big old mistake and causes all kinds of problems for herself in doing so. Those are the main perspectives that are talked about on the back cover. The dwarf guy, he's my fave. I love him. But there are a lot of different things going on in this book. It's a pretty, there's a lot of perspective, there's a lot of different mechanics, a lot of different pieces on the board for this story, yet it's so readable. It's very, very easy to read, and the pacing is, I don't know, even though there's a lot of perspectives and there's a lot going on, it's just really easy to kind of sink in, and I read through it very quickly. I just didn't have any issue. I never had a problem wanting to put it down. Each of their stories really kind of circle around this, the secrets of the runestone. I guess that makes sense, that's the title of the book. But around these runestones, there's a lot of mystery around it. There's a lot of opportunities that it holds. I would say for me, the biggest weakness of the book is in the fight scenes, especially because one perspective does do a lot of fighting, and I don't necessarily think that I don't think it's bad, but it's not the strongest fighting writing that I've read, and with it dominating so much of one of the main perspectives, I didn't love it, but I also didn't hate it. It wasn't that big of a deal. But I think that if you want I mean, it's really not very long, and if you want a really fast-paced, easy to read, fun, dynamic story, I really enjoyed this. Next book was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and oh my goodness, I am obsessed with this series. I've already bought all the books in the rest of the series. I'm going straight into book 2. I'm so excited about this series. It's this satirical nonsense. So our main two characters are Arthur and Ford, and Arthur is a human who, his house is about to be demolished so that they can create a highway in its place, and he's not pleased about it. And then his friend Ford, who is an alien who is in disguise on Earth, stuck on Earth actually, he ends up saving Arthur and getting him off Earth seconds before the Earth is destroyed so that they can build an intergalactic highway. And it's nonsense. I mean, it is a ludicrous book. It is filled with so many hilarious, goofy, nonsensical lines with intentionality to them. I keep saying this in the vlogs as I'm talking about it, but it is such focused chaos where it's like, it's nonsense, but it has intentionality to it. There's a reason behind the chaos, and there's something being said in the chaos, but it's not in your face. And I laughed out loud so many times reading this book. I mean, I'm so excited about this series. It's hilarious and goofy, but also surprisingly introspective. I love it. I love it. By introspective, I don't know, it's not that I mean stuff like the jokes have some weight to them, you know, like philosophers who are rushing in and don't want the answer to life, the universe, and everything, because then what will they sit around and debate? And, you know, things like that where it's like, it's a joke and it's given to us comedically, but there's something there where these things that we put so much weight behind, these things that we care so much about, it's like there's another side to it that he kind of makes a mockery of a little bit. And I love it. I love it. I read Spy X Family, or Spy Family, which is another manga series about a spy, an assassin, and a little girl who is a telepath. And they are not a family, but they come together to impersonate a family so that they can accomplish these series of missions. And it's hilarious, and it's adorable, and it has no right to be this good in just one volume. I'm going to continue on with the series for sure. I'm going to have a video up for it for anyone that cares. I love it. And the final book that I finished this month is We've Always Lived in the Castle, which is by Shirley Jackson, the author of The Haunting of Hill House. This is my second book by her. I read The Haunting of Hill House before. This follows a young, morbid little girl who lives in a castle with her family. Half of her family was poisoned and died, and we follow them after that effect, where the whole town is kind of turned on them, looks poorly at them, looks down at them, and she has these very aggressive inner thoughts where she just kind of wants them all to die. And we follow her perspective as she's living life with the family, as she's going into town to get their supplies and interacting, and as she's very stuck in her head. We also get to see a lot of her family who are left in different states of disarray after the tragedy that happened to their family. And it's very much like The Haunting of Hill House in the structure, in that it begins very slow and creepy and unsettling in a different kind of way, a much more subtle kind of way, but it begins kind of gothic and then just escalates and escalates and escalates, and it's a wild ride by the end. And I just really like her storytelling style. This is my second book by her. I want to read more for sure. I think Shirley Jackson is an author that I just need to keep checking out because her books are hits for me. Anyway, these are most of the books I read this month. I forgot to grab one, but my battery's gonna die, so I'm gonna hold up the books even though they're not all here. But here you go. Oh, nope. But here you go. These are the books, and be sure to chat with me more about it in the comments. What books have you read? What do you like? I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Thursdays on the vlog channel. I'll see you again soon. Bye.